Hello, welcome to TisTalk.
This is a podcast coming from Tisbury, Wiltshire and surrounding villages. I'm Julian Murphy.
And I'm Mary Myers. It's Monday the 1st of July. Okay. Hello, Julian.
Hello, Mary.
So this is our last one of the season.
Yeah, and we're ending with quite a lot of elections.
Yeah, it's a bit
political. But we had to do that.
Yes, yeah.
So we're really fair.
So we're going to do special focus on the Reform candidate and the Climate Party candidate.
Yes.
Tisbury is not particularly interested in immigration. I can tell you that immigration will one day be interested in Tisbury.
Well, I have to say that my number one is to sort out climate change, because if you don't, anything else you do will be wiped away by climate change.
Apart from that, we're going to have little clips from all the others to remind everybody about what they said previously. We've also got Anne Martin, who went to Chilmark School.
So they explained all the different type of armour that they had to wear, and at the end they got on the horses and they gave us a little demonstration of jousting and fighting.
And also not forgetting this group of young mums who've recently done a fundraising bike ride, and they're still looking for funds, and we'll hear more about them on the show.
Raising money for 3 charities that looked after our daughter when she was ill in hospital, and then 2 charities that looked after us as a family after she died.
And of course we end with the What's-Ons and a lovely soundscape from Tisbury Pool.
We start with Anne Martin and Chilmark School finding out about the children's hobbies.
Chilmark School Hall is alive today for the Festival of Hobbies, and as you can hear, there's a hubbub of activity. There are children gathered in the hall showing their hobbies ranging from gamekeeping to taekwondo to football to drawing to Lego, and there's also local people in the community who have brought in their hobbies too. Things like computing, flower arranging, sewing, reading, and the idea is that the children and the local community share their hobbies and talk to each other about their hobbies and why they enjoy them and how they learnt to do these particular hobbies. It's an absolutely super idea. And I've got 3 pupils from the school here who are going to talk about the hobbies that they are going to present. First of all, hello Peggy.
Hello.
Can you tell us something about your hobby, please?
So my hobby's horse riding, and I've been doing it for 5 years.
Good. And what do you like about horse riding?
I like being able to jump high on my horse Paddington, and I like feeling the relationship through to the horse.
Good. And what would you say to somebody who maybe thought, oh, I'm not sure about horse riding? How would you encourage them to take it up?
I definitely do it, because when you're sat with the horse, you feel a connection, and it's just a really enjoyable thing.
Oh, that sounds great. Lovely. Okay, and here's Archie. Hello, Archie. What's your hobby?
My hobby is taekwondo.
And how long have you been doing taekwondo for?
I'm doing it for about 2 or 1 year.
And what do you like about taekwondo?
It's a type of martial art, and it's just really fun, and I do it with some of my friends from school, and it's just like a good way to exercise and stuff. So we have this thing called sparring gear, which you have headgear, fists, shin pads and all of that stuff, and mouth gear.
You wear that
So
all the time?
Not all the time. Only when you're doing, it's called sparring.
Oh,
And
right.
so you can do contact, but you can also do free sparring where you don't hit anyone.
Oh, great. That sounds really exciting. Thank you. I'm going to talk to Seb now. So what's your hobby?
My hobby is football. I do taekwondo with Archie as well. But football is a very, very good sport, I would say. It's probably my favourite. This is because you can make friends doing it, have fun doing it, but downsides are the referees sometimes get it wrong, and then It's a bit of like a balanced match. It's good, but it's bad at the same time.
Oh, right. I can see you've got the Mere Town Football Club strip on today. Is this the team that you play for?
This is the team that I play for with my brother. My brother plays for it as well. He plays in. They've got lots of different age groups, so if you want to join, feel free to come along. This is at Mere School.
Right, great. Thank you very much indeed. That's great. Thank you.
Anne asked Jo Chapman, the teaching assistant who organised the Day of Hobbies, what inspired her to do it.
Well, I'm always sort of looking for new and exciting things that we can do with the children. And I think the thing that inspired me was originally something at my mum's church where they did a harvest of talents. And they gathered all things that people could do in the community. But I thought I really wanted to be inclusive for everybody and not necessarily just something that, you know, you really shone at, but something that you really enjoyed doing. And I was overwhelmed with hands up and people wanting to share their hobbies. And in the end, I think most of the school, there were very few children who didn't share a hobby. And those that didn't share a hobby still took part by going around and asking, you know, people about their hobbies.
Yeah, it was truly fantastic. And so, did anything surprise you about the day? Did it go as you thought?
You know, knowing our children as well as I do, I knew that they would enter into it sort of heart and soul. But I think what did surprise me was some of their hobbies that, even though we know the children really well, I wasn't aware of some of the things that some of them did, and that was really interesting. And I think also that their confidence, I was so pleased to see how confident they were in talking to the adults as well and asking them about their hobbies, and just their respect for each other's hobbies and their genuine excitement at finding out more. It was lovely to see.
Thank you, Jo.
Thank you.
Shortly after the open day, Anne returned to Chilmark School and talked to some children about the Chalk Valley History Festival.
So, Peggy, tell me about what you saw at the History Festival.
So when we went to the History Festival, we saw lots of different things from ancient history, and one of my favourites was the Mounted Knight. So they explained all the different type of armour that they had to wear on the horses in fights and battles, and they went through all the different names of them, and at the end they got on the horses and they gave us a little demonstration of jousting and fighting.
Oh, great. And so, Nancy, what did you do?
We did like the trenches, and they had like shotgun shells in the ground, they had like tents, and it was really cool, but the way how the soldiers felt, they must have been really scared just living there, and because it was like really like clamped in.
Do you think it would have been really dirty and scary?
Yeah, it was. And they had like smoke machines, and the smoke would come into our faces when we had like a gunshot, and they had like hand grenades which would be thrown and stuff.
Great. And so, did you go? You went to a Tudor stand as well, didn't you?
Yes, we went to a Tudor kitchen, and they explained all the different types of food and how they used to cook them back in the Tudor times.
Yeah,
it was quite a good demonstration.
Did they eat any sort of foods that maybe we don't eat these days?
They eat like pig stomachs.
Pig stomachs. Oh, okay. And you said you went to something to do with the Vikings.
Yeah. So halfway through the morning, we went to a Viking tent, and they gave us all different types of Viking stories, and they were true stories about how the Vikings used to live and how the battles used to go on.
That's great. Thank you very much indeed.
And now Chris Harwood for the climate party.
Right, well, I'm in Beatons with Chris Harwood, and Chris is from the climate party.
That's right, yes.
Yes. Well, welcome to TisTalk.
Thank you.
Now, tell us firstly, how do you assess your chances of being elected?
Well, I don't. I mean, it looks slim at the outset, but if there is a swing in the Salisbury constituency, which comes all the way out here, as you know, then I wouldn't be surprised whatever happened to this election. I don't think that the pollsters can possibly have a good understanding at the moment of it.
Okay. So now your climate party is obviously a green type of party. Can you just tell us how you differ from the Green Party?
Okay, well, the thing about the Climate Party is it was set up to be 100% about stopping climate change. Now, a lot of people will talk about net zero. Some of them will even do our big thing of net zero by 2030, but they'll talk about it in terms of wouldn't it be nice. We're talking about putting it into law, pushing very hard, as people would say, getting the job done.
Just go to your background, Chris. So I think you're based in the Don Heads, is that right?
Yes, yep, I was born in Birmingham, went to university in Bristol, spent most of my work and career teaching in London, and have now retired down here.
Okay, and how long have you lived down here?
8 years. Yeah.
Okay, and your activist background, can you say a little bit about that? You've been planting trees, I know, and we've had you on TisTalk before.
Yes, that started when I watched Sir David Attenborough's A Life on Our Planet on Netflix, which just completely said to me, yeah, this is it, we've got to do it. You know. And so then I started planting trees. Now, more recently, Simon Steele, the CEO of the United Nations Climate Change Committee, the group that does the COPs and the like, but basically the organisation with the cross-government scientific expertise that is advising on what we need to do, and has given us various things like Code Red for Humanity in the past, and other warnings that we are very close to the edge now. And so when I heard Simon Steele talk about 2 years left to save the planet, I thought, planting trees is going to be too slow. The only way to deal with it is to actually go into Parliament and actually push the government from the inside.
Right. Now, what about your priority for the Tisbury area? Because obviously TisTalk, we're Tisbury focused. What would be your number one priority for change here?
Well, I have to say that my number one is to sort out climate change, because if you don't, anything else you do will be wiped away by climate change. And that may sound like a cop-out. So more locally, my tree planting has been associated with dealing with the Nadder overflow floodplain, because it's very close to that. But basically, I think Tisbury's actually good. I mean, it's a lovely place, but I think it's in need of an injection of money. And at the moment, the problem is that the UK is not a rich country. And fighting climate change in the way that we're proposing will generate an enormous amount of wealth. Once that happens, then the money will flow in, the infrastructure can be improved, and the whole area, I think, will lift, because it's not actually fallen into anything bad. It's just simply not as glorious as it used to be.
So, Chris, how is this injection of money that you say is needed, of course it is probably needed, how is it actually going to happen?
Well, our idea is net zero by 2030. Now, that is a very ambitious target when you stop and think about it. But what would happen is that we would start by making the government declare in law that it was going to happen. That would cause a huge expansion, a huge increase in jobs, and that's what we need around here. And green jobs, by and large, are averaging out at a higher rate of pay than non-green jobs at the moment. So it would increase the number of jobs, it would increase the possibility for investment, and all the money that withdrew when Rishi Sunak set the deadlines back from 2030 to 2035, and which is still, I'm told, looking to be invested, that would jump in, and the result would be an increase in the wealth in the country. Places like Tisbury will not be exempt from that rejuvenation.
Follow us on Instagram at TisTalk Radio.
Next we hear from Julian Malins, the Reform candidate. This interview was recorded on June the 14th. Thank you very much for coming on TisTalk. What would you say the chances of you as the candidate for Reform Party, what are the chances of being elected, do you think, on July the 4th?
Well, I think those chances are quite high. My reasoning is this. Today, or perhaps yesterday, Reform UK pulled 1 point ahead of the Conservatives in the YouGov poll. And our impression is that the Conservatives are falling and their voters are moving to Reform UK. So if we continue on this trend, I think that Reform UK can win in Salisbury.
Okay, well, we'll see on July the 4th. Okay, so what about your background, Julian?
My father was an army chaplain. Looking back, a regular, I mean, he did his 30 plus years. He was an army chaplain all my life, and he was still that. So we moved 24 times in 22 years. And those in the army know that if you're an army family, you are in the army, practically speaking, yourself. We were stationed twice in Salisbury, once in Godley Road and once in Manor Road. And I went for a year to the Harman School. And then I had 5 years in Codford St Mary, my first boarding school, down the road to Warminster. And we were also posted to Tidworth and Bulford. So we had 4 postings, 2 in Salisbury, 2 in Wiltshire. Now, at age 22, I left home to get married. In those days, that's what you did, and struggled up the ladder of being a barrister. Sadly, my wife died a few years ago, and I have 3 daughters, all married, and 7 grandchildren. And so that's my general background. I've had an international commercial legal court practice.
And are you a practicing barrister now, and is it in Salisbury?
I'm a practicing barrister now, but I'm 74. If I'm elected, I will not renew my practicing certificate.
And do you live in Salisbury, Julian?
No, I don't, but if elected, I will.
I see, yes. Thank you. And finally, Julian, what would be your priority or number 1 priority for the Tisbury area if you were elected?
Well, I have spent my life with clients who walk in on a Monday and I know nothing about them or their problems. By Tuesday, I know more about them and their problems than they might actually have liked me to know. So I am good. It is my profession to listen and then act. Now, I did a bit of research into 2 areas where it appeared there was local concern. I may have completely got these wrong. One is in connection with some new proposed traffic flow, and one is in connection with a newly proposed house building programme. So those kinds of problems, and almost every kind of problem you can think of, they are my meat and drink. So I'd be all over them like a rash. We want to abolish the interest on student loans. We're going to do something about that. Secondly, we think that the utilities should be part government owned, like water, part government owned, 50%, and the other half owned by British pension funds, insurance companies, other financial institutions. That, you might say, is a very left-wing policy. So this whole trope, if that's the modern word, of you're just right wing is rubbish. We're not. We are radical, but we are not right wing.
Okay. Finally, I just want to, ask about immigration, because in Tisbury, we don't perceive that as a problem. I mean, I can't speak for everyone, of course, but it's not really a problem around us.
I can only say I'm very happy to hear it. Tisbury is not particularly interested in immigration. I can tell you that immigration will one day be interested in Tisbury.
Okay, thank you very much.
TisTalk, a podcast from Tisbury on tistalk.buzzsprout.com.
And just to be completely fair, we have a quick reminder now of the policies of Labour, Conservative and LibDem for our area from interviews we did earlier. Firstly, Matt Aldridge for Labour.
I think for a place like Tisbury, a little bit like Salisbury as well, is local businesses, supporting independent local businesses that when they thrive really energise a community, and that is what I would like to support in Tisbury. And you did only say one priority, but I've got to squeeze another one in there because of my dedication to the environment and my environmental background, working with the local farmers and working with wildlife groups to diversify and improve our environment, because we're surrounded by such beautiful countryside that we really want to preserve it for future generations. Just last night I was talking to Fergal Sharkey, the great river activist, about the very problem of our rivers. So Salisbury and the catchment area around Salisbury, with 5 rivers, I said earlier. I've played, fished, canoed, swum, and each of them growing up, and I've got a 3-year-old daughter, and I'd really love her to enjoy the same luxury of being able to jump into your own crystal clear chalk stream. But the way we're treating our environment and the way we're treating our rivers is terrible, and we absolutely need to get a grip of it, and that is central to Labour's environment offer to communities like Tisbury.
Secondly, John Glenn for Conservatives.
I think Tisbury is a fantastic place, and sometimes we should pause to reflect on how blessed we are to have all that we have here. But that doesn't mean it's perfect, and that there'll be some recreational services for young people. There's a great sensitivity to environmental causes and climate change, and that's something that I'm very focused on and interested in. I think getting the infrastructure to support some of the transitions away from reliance on vehicles is important, but we need to do that in a timely way, in an area where actually people do rely on their cars to get in and around the villages of Tisbury. I think how we sensitively deal with housing problem is something I also see as a problem in Salisbury, but in Tisbury too, where how do you sensitively provide the right additional housing that doesn't destroy the culture of the village? Well, you've got to work very closely with the community and listen. And, that also means working with those groups that are trying to urge the council to do things a bit differently. So when they do planning, they actually say, well, actually we can lean into some of these more community-based solutions that prize, affordability and sustainability over profit for big developers.
Thirdly, Victoria Charleston for the Liberal Democrats.
I know that my colleague Dick, one of your Wiltshire councillors, has been doing an incredible amount of work on potholes, and that is something that, as a Wiltshire councillor, he has brought a lot of focus on, and I know it frustrates an awful lot of people across the entire constituency, the state of our roads. So that's something that I would support him with, in pushing both Wiltshire Council and Westminster for more funding to improve our roads. But I know there's an incredible amount of frustration around housing in the area as well. So you have a beautiful, beautiful village here, which I love to come and visit. And I know there's an awful lot of families who feel that their children can't afford to live in their home. I understand that house prices in Tisbury are actually double the average across Wiltshire, which is astonishing and obviously out of reach for so many people. And so you have those issues of the lack of houses being built, and then obviously you had the issue recently about the houses they want to build near the train station, those 80 houses plus the care home. So whilst I think more houses are needed in Tisbury, it's where we build them and how we build them. And one of the things I'm very proud of with my party and our manifesto is that we would change the planning system and ensure that decisions around planning are made as locally as possible.
And our final excerpt from previously recorded interviews with the candidates, Barney Norris, Green Party.
There are a lot of priorities that I'd want to throw myself at, but I do want to talk about the rivers. I think we live in a part of the world which is defined by its waterways, which is rightly very proud of its waterways. I wrote a novel called 5 Rivers Met on a Wooded Plain. I'm very proud of our waterways, and they've shaped my life to a great extent, and we're killing them. And the way we're killing them is legislation. Government policy is what has created the catastrophe which is England's rivers at the moment, and the rivers in this part of the country as well. And I think first thing that we ought to be passionate about changing is driving reform of the legislation which makes it impossible to let the rivers get into the state they've got to ever again.
With Chloe Williams-Wynne, and she and some friends have done an amazing bike ride recently. Can you just tell listeners what it was for and why you're still looking for money?
So we were raising money for 3 charities that looked after our daughter when she was ill in hospital, and then 2 charities that looked after us as a family after she died. And we cycled from Tisbury to Lyme, Regis, which is over 120 kilometres off-road along the Chalkway. And there were 35 of us, and we are still keeping our fundraising open. We've managed to reach the amount that we want to be able to buy an incubator for neonatal intensive care, but we're still looking to try and raise funds for the 3 charities are Cosmic Charity, Teddy's Wish and Petals Charity.
Okay, and they're all about neonatal care.
So Cosmic Charity funds the gap between what the NHS can provide and what neonatal intensive care need. And the 2 other charities, one funds research into premature death in babies, and the other supports families who have lost their children in the form of counselling and care packages and general wraparound support. Okay. Our bicycle ride was last weekend.
22nd, 23rd of June.
Yeah.
It's still open?
Yeah, so the website, so it's in memory of our daughter Minnie, and the website is www.cyclingthechalkwayforminnie.com, and that's Minnie, M-I-N-N-I-E, like Minnie Mouse. www.cyclingthechalkwayforminnie.com.
Okay, thank you very, very much, Chloe.
You.
And listen up for our longer interview with Chloe Williams-Wynne and her friends' fundraising activities in September.
And now we have What's Ons with Loud Pointer.
Here's what's on in Tisbury and the Nadder Valley for the week beginning Monday the 1st of July. Firstly, don't forget to contribute to Tisbury Carnival's fundraiser. Their fundraising campaign closes on the 5th of July, so you only have a few days left to help reach the target of £2,500. At time of recording, £1,044 has been raised, so still a bit to go. Their crowdfunding site is at crowdfunder.co.uk or Google Tisbury Carnival fundraiser. By donating even a few pounds, you can help make Tisbury Carnival as good or even better than last year. On Wednesday the 3rd, the Memory Group has another Move and Make Music session at the Hinton Hall from 10:30 to 12 noon. On Thursday the 4th of July, of course, it's election day, and the polling station will be at the Hinton Hall as usual and open all day. Other polling stations in our area include Chilmark Reading Rooms, Anstey Pick Your Own Farm on the A30, Teffont Village Hall and Semley Village Hall. Don't forget your photo ID. On Thursday evening, there is a 3-mile evening walk organised by the Tisbury Footpath Club, starting at 6:30pm from the square. On Friday the 5th of July, Messams is opening their summer sculpture show with a preview from 6pm in the Tithe Barn. Book online for the free preview on messams.org. The exhibition, which is also free, is called Presence, the figure in British post-war and contemporary sculpture. It is from 6th of July to the 23rd of September at Messams, Place Farm, Tisbury. On Saturday the 6th of July, it's the Tisbury Country Market in the Victoria Hall from 10 to 11am. Now for a few dates for your diary further ahead this summer. On Saturday the 13th of July, there is a jumble trail with stalls outside all over Tisbury from 10 to 1pm. On Monday the 15th of July, Junior Tisbury Arts Group are holding auditions for 5 to 15-year-olds from 5:30pm in the Victoria Hall. On Saturday the 20th of July, Shakespeare's Midsummer Night's Dream is presented by the Troubadour Players at Hatch House, with both matinee and evening performances. From the 7th to the 10th of August, Shakespeare's Measure for Measure is on at the Anstey Commandery for 4 evening performances, starting at 7:30pm. On Saturday the 31st of August, Hatch House Open Garden takes place in aid of Salisbury Hospice from 11am to 4:30pm. Entrance is £5 for adults and £2 for children. And one last reminder for later in the summer, Tisbury Swimming Pool will be celebrating its 60th anniversary on the 25th and 26th of August.
We leave you with a quick interview by Alan Marion Davis of Steph Wells at the pool, and then a little soundscape from the pool itself.
Yes, it opened in '63, so we're actually having our 60th anniversary this year.
That's brilliant, isn't it?
Yeah.
And how are you going to celebrate that?
We're having a big weekend of various events going on the August bank holiday weekend.
So it'll be pretty busy then, I imagine?
I hope so, yeah. We've got various events at the pool and a big fete thing on the field and then a party in the evening, so yeah.
Great. Now, it's a fairly quiet time now, isn't it, with a few people, what, about half a dozen people gently breaststroking up and down the pool? Is that typical?
It is on a sunny day, yeah.
When do you get the keen types in?
Quite often they're between 6 and 8 in the morning.
Yeah. Those are the serious ones who do the crawl.
And then it gets more leisurely as the day goes on.
Yes. And of course you have family time as well, don't you?
We do,
kids time?
yeah, every afternoon, for the kids just to come and have fun. That's what it's all about for them.
It's basically a heated pool, isn't it?
It is.
It's what they call a Lido or a Lido.
Well, we don't actually class it as a Lido. We still call ourselves an outside swimming pool. It's a very big debate, that. But when the sun's shining like this, we don't have the heating on. The heating's not on at all.
And you've got the solar panels there, I see.
Yes, that does help. But like I said, when the weather's like this, it's covered at night and everything, so you don't need any heating because you want the water to be cooler than the air temperature, so it's refreshing when you go in.
It certainly is. I've had a lovely swim this morning. And of course the solar panels were provided by Nadder Community Energy, weren't
Yes, they were, yes,
which is great. So it's a fantastic facility for a relatively small place like Tisbury.
It is, and it's still community run. It is basically still run by volunteers.
Which is excellent.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much.
That's all right, no worries.
All the best.
Thank you.
We leave you with the sounds of Tisbury Community Swimming Pool. Have a lovely summer and we'll see you in September.